go ahead. Thank you.
Thank you.
I okay.
Well, sorry, ちょっと待って。so yeah, so this is the I'm Eiko Matsuda. So the title of this paper is To Go Back to Up the Side Hill, Memories, Imaginations, and Reveries of Childhood. So let me introduce the reason why I choose the paper, because, well, I'm interested in phenomenological aspects of child's internal worlds, or especially I'm interested in child's fantasy. Well, normally young children believe that everything has consciousness, like the world feels it's being knocked on, or the moon knows it's moving, like お月様が追いかけてくるよ. And also, the children can create, well, even imaginary beings, imaginary friends, like 隣のトトロ or some other imaginary companions, and sometimes they even animate, attribute personalities to numbers or some abstract notions. So I'm really interested in analysis or address to this kind of fantasy, child fantasy. So and I try to do some qualitative analysis on it, but I am really like to analyze the phenomenological aspect of child's fantasy. So that's why I selected the paper. So but it is really difficult to address phenomenology of children because we adults are no longer children. So so by the time we are old enough to reflect on what it is like to be a young children, we removed from the experience that it is difficult to emphasize. So we are no more longer children, but so the paper is something about how to address to the children's internal world, and yes, and the authors focusing on reveries. It's like daydreams, like spontaneous imagination. So it is different from dreams during sleeping, but it is like pre-imagination, like personifying some objects, or creating stories or something like that. And this is created during relaxed time and very casual imagination and moments of idleness apart from the world of others. So, and the author said reveries are filled with imaginative contents more relevant to understanding children's geographies. And geographies is not the geography of like Japan geography or something like that, but how to how to interpret how geography does not concern with physical spaces, but focusing on how these spaces affect and perceived within a child's experience and cultural context. So, so so the question is, how can adults enter this? So the focus of this paper is on reveries of childhood. And the reveries, the authors consider reveries will uncover the mysterious parts of children's fantasy play. And the question is, how can adults enter the childhood reverie? We almost 5 minutes. Yes, and so the first point so they pointed out two. And the first point is adult researchers remember their reveries from childhood. So they go back, they remember, right? They try to remember their childhood and well, describe it. And by remembering their reveries, well, embodied properties may be very important. For instance, like Yuko-san suggested, smells may bring others back to their child life, or scales or some physical difference, like so children, the body of children is so small, so everything looks so huge. So something like that, some physical properties can go make others back to their child life. And the second point will be adult researchers analyze children, directly analyze children, but it is a bit difficult to, well, study reveries, because unlike to the laboratory experiments, reveries is created in a very casual daily life. So and the author pointed out the importance of reveries in everyday life. So the reveries are hidden in everyday documents that children create casually to stave off boredom. So because they are really bored, nothing to do, so they create something. So this is not a part of an experiment, but just a spontaneous creation during their daily life. So the authors pointed out the importance of the daily, everyday documents like this kind of, well, very casual, like garbage, like something. So, so that's the conclusion of the authors. And the part I couldn't understand is how to analyze those messy objects. For instance, the author displayed this kind of example from 6-year-old child. So the text is like, one day I saw Louise and me and Louise went back. This is really messy and I can't tell that I cannot find anything in the text. So, well, so I think the way to analyze is really, really difficult. So then I come up with an solution that, what about analyzing the conversation between mother and child, mothers and children, in which the child explained the document, the meaning of the document, why they created the document. Because, you know, children are always love to tell the reason, explain everything to their mothers. So this setup will be closer to children's daily lives and suitable for capturing spontaneous reveries, because mothers is a part of their daily lives. And I think, well, so this is a kind of connection to the Shosan's part. I don't know, but this paper describes children's reveries as spontaneously arising from their daily lives, from the children themselves. But I think it is but I think it is really important to consider intersubjective relationship between children and environment, or children and their mothers, because, well, I think interaction between children and mothers can create those reveries or fantasies of children, because, well, let me introduce the notion of transitional space or transitional object. This is well noted by Winnicott a very long time ago. But well, let me introduce the transitional object. This is called, well, for instance, Linus is a boy who have always their blanket together, and this is a very famous example of transitional object. Well, transitional object is worked as a, no, in the mother's absence, the transitional object provides a sense of security and allows the child to explore the outside world. So the transitional object works as a, like a mother, during the mother's absence. The production of no compensatory object. Yeah, the production of compensatory object for the mother is the first creative act, and it is said that the transitional object develops into healthy play for the child, healthy fantasy play for the child, and then into cultural activities in general, like writing diaries, writing novels, or drawing pictures or something. And I think reveries may arise from the reveries will arise from very secure environment, and the secure environment is created by in the with the security environment will be created with the transitional object, transitional space. So I think reveries may be created within intersubjective communication or something between children and mothers. So I think this will be very important to analyze the conversation between mother and child about their daily life documents, created documents. Thank you. I'm sorry. Okay.
Hey, thank you, Matsuda-san. So yeah, it should be good to start with this slide and methodology. But I remember that some, the phenomenological researchers are analyzing the interviews in their paper thesis. So I think there should be the solid way to analyze this kind of the data set in the phenomenology. But do you have any comment on that issue?
Yeah, of course. Well, they will have some very way to analyze it, but I think, meaning is not, I don't know, but I think the meaning is not, I don't know, maybe they will have very nice methods to analyze it, but I think meaning is not does not lie only in the object itself, because this is kind of very random and messy, like just I don't know, but I think only the documents are kind of very meaningless. I don't know. Of course, they are meaningful to children, but I think explanation why it is meaningful to them is really important. But if experimenters, researchers ask them, they may create stories. They can be polite, but I don't know. But it is for them, that's why it is very difficult to make a phenomenological analysis. So I think, but mother is a good interpreter of them, I think. I don't know.
Yeah. The author mentions the challenge of not doing too much, right? So the researchers tend to over-rationalize these things, and I think that is a good that is probably a good warning. But at the same time, there's a certain sort of rationality inherent to this the kids' rule, the children's rules, right? So the key, I think, is to try to uncover the specific meaning or specific rationality that is inherent in the children's world. And how to do that, I think I really like your approach, because when you look at this sort of text, obviously it was created within some sort of context, right? So without knowing the context, you can't really understand. So how do we access that context? A good way, I do think, is to perhaps what you suggested is a good approach for the kid to talk with a mother, and then for the researcher to be present together and to kind of to try to understand that process. So I like that approach, and it also kind of challenges Bachelar's approach, which is he talks about how, Bachelard is talking about how these reveries are created in a kind of solitary environment, right? But your approach is more, let's put it back into kind of more intersubjective kind of environment. And I think that's much more in line with how kids actually come up with these daydreams. Like, it doesn't come up in a vacuum, right? It doesn't come up in just one person's brain. I think it arises in a kind of intersubjective environment, and not just intersubjective, but also it's kind of engagement with the surrounding environment, with other objects and the rules around them. So I think that approach is very nice. Yeah, this transitional object is very interesting. What was trying to understand how that's related to
I mean, well,
the reveries.
well, I think reveries, I'm sorry, I missed something, but reveries, you can't sleep anywhere, but everyone will sleep in a very secure place, like your home, or like you need some secure places to have a dream and to have a sleep. And reveries is something like that. I think children or you will not do some fantasy play without having these kind of secure places. So they, the author suggested, they need very boring, or I don't know how can I say, the boring, nothing to do, and then they create something. So this is really secure and very protected. I think this environment is the presence of mother is very important. I think especially for very young children, like 1 or 2 years, the presence of mother is really important. But I think the presence of mother will be developing into some objects or some spaces, like, for instance, like, I don't know, but some specific places like the garden of their house, or some parks, or I think, or the presence of the specific blankets or some specific puppets. So I think, but the secure places will be originated from the presence of mother. So so this is just an additional, but I think that's why I think it's very important to analyze the conversation between mother and children. So I think, so you may think, if you become a very nice friends of children, they will tell you something, some nice stories, but I think it is a bit different. So mother is, I don't know, but I don't know, but I assume the importance of mothers. So that's why I presented the transitional object. So everything, every secure environment may be originated from the presence of mother. I don't know. I shouldn't go extreme, but that's what I present.
So are you suggesting that the researcher is present in the place where the mother and the child are having the conversation, or do you think it's better that they have their conversation and then the researcher analyzes it and kind of
Yeah, I think
afterwards?
I have no idea, but I'm still thinking, but well, so I'm sorry, your question is if
Yeah,
the
perhaps it's better that the researcher is not there
no,
when they have the conversation, because then it becomes more kind of genuine, right?
I think this is better. So
Mm-hmm.
and I think it is not children and mother do not have to come to the laboratory, but
Yeah.
record their conversation in their daily, like their places.
Then it seems like it's important that the researcher talks with the mother instead of rather than directly talking with the children, talks with the mother, because the mother has a kind of feel for the child, right? A very kind of, their connection is very strong, and they have a kind of sense of, you know, the different connections that the child is making. They have much more immediate access to the child's world than an outsider. So perhaps the key is for the researcher to get into, so to say, the head of the mother, to access the kid's rules. The author mentions a kind of imaginative engagement, he calls it, right? Or imaginative revisiting between the adult sensibility and the child's reverie, he says. So the key is not just to rely on memory, but to also for the researcher to freely exercise their imagination. And for that to take place, I think we need the help of the mother or the caretaker who's
I think so.
more access to the children's world. Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. So it is very difficult to find where very cooperative mother and children, pair of mother of children. But well,
Yeah.
but I think, well, I know a lot of children and mothers are very interested in developmental, interested in attending this kind of developmental experiments. So I will ask. And so okay, like Yoko-san suggested, I have to make a good relationship with
Yeah. But I also wonder how much of a actual, there is a possibility that the children's world is not so structured and not, you know, it's very difficult to kind of actually, I mean, when I look at what my daughter produces, it's kind of random. To try to try to find some sort of, I guess my question is, what are we trying to find, right? So you're trying to access the children's rules, but what exactly are we looking for?
Yeah, that's a really important question, and I have to consider more. But I think transitional object is a good, good key or good access to for analysis because, well, transitional object is appear in the absence of their mothers. So and it will develop into fantasy play, becoming very complex and complex. So I think so children may explain their created documents, and then we researchers can analyze how the mothers, how the existence of how they how can I say how they consider the how children imagine their mothers within this creation. I think so for my I'm sorry, for my daughters, she tried to create everything to show me their documents. But I think this is interesting because the way of creation, the created something is very becoming complicated. I don't know. I should analyze everything, but they are always thinking about their mothers. No, only my daughter. Maybe I don't know, but I don't know. But I think to answer Yuko-san's question, I would like to analyze how the fantasy world, the fantasy is very, very, very complicated. For instance, when I analyze the number personification of children, like they said, number 2 is like mother, and number 6 is like a grandmother, and they sometimes fighting each other, and sometimes number 6 attacks number 2 or something like that. And this relationship is very complicated, looks like very complicated. But actually, when I asked the reason through semi-structured interview, and they answered the number 2 is mother's finger, and that's why it is mother, so that something like that. So I think this complicated fantasy it can be originated from very simple daily life imagination. So I think, so for instance, so I would like to see how, so if we, so I'm sorry. So I'm more interested in how those will reach fantasy world is created from the very beginning of their lives. Sorry, do I make sense?
Yeah. In a sense, it kind of, sorry. In a sense, it relates to what we were talking about with pure experience.
Pure experience.
Yeah. Because yeah, let me see. Let's gather my thoughts. What was I saying? Yeah. Because in a sense, it seems at the outset, it seems very unstructured and random, like the children's rules. But actually, there is a sort of inherent meaning. There is a certain structure. If you kind of, maybe it doesn't make sense for us, but for them, it makes sense. So the key is to try to understand how it makes sense to them, right? And it kind of relates to pure experience because pure experience seems very unstructured and random at first, but it's just very rich. And so the key is trying to understand how all those different structures are related to each other. Perhaps that's kind of.
Okay. I see. Okay. That's interesting.
Sorry, so only 1 minute left, but sorry for cutting out, but do you have any question or comment, Ishimoto-san?
Yeah, just a comment, but related to your methodology slide, then maybe is do you think I think generative AI is one of candidates to be useful because the baby or children are the generator, one kind of generator, but we cannot interpret the output of them, but they are generator, right? The right drawing the pictures, and we can. I think we can make the children like
Oh, yeah,
generative AI,
yeah, I think
and
so.
yeah, and if we can produce the kind of children like AI, we can do investigate the inside of the AI and like reverse engineering kind of thing. Then that's just an idea, but yeah, and then we can say something about something for
Yeah.
children.
Yeah, I'm also always thinking to make a children model by using some, well, generative model or some like, yeah, something, models of children. Yeah.
Are there some research related to that kind of approach?
Your question is,
Some are there some papers
already?
using
Okay, I don't know. I have no
something?
idea. I have to study more. But well, I think I'm always when I wrote something about the model of children in my Kagenhi proposals, and if I don't know, but things is more complicated. But I think the world of children can be if the world of children is generated only by the environment. Well, we can gather the child TV show like Nico Nico Poon or something like that, and then just put every images or movies on a deep learning network, and then what is created, what is the representation generated from Nico Nico Poon. I don't know, but I think this could be happen because child TV show, numbers, animals, a lot of things are personified. So that's why I don't know. And also analogy, I have to think more because so my models of my proposal of it's still I have to consider more, but I think analogy children so I'm sorry, the personification trait of children is really important to understand their fantasy play. I think they try to understand everything as an analogy of themselves. That's why the moon is chasing you or something. I don't know. So the analogy can be model implemented as a model, but it will be difficult. I think, but first of all, I like to conduct some people on a human experiment, child experiment, and then afterward move to creation, to create model. I don't know.
Yeah, it's okay.
I'm sorry. I'm always my
that's
talk is always long and redundant.
great discussion, and that might be the good topic to be discussed during the grant meeting with Moriguchi-san and other
Yeah, yeah,
people.
yeah.
Yes, yeah. But yeah, anyway, thank you so much for the presentation, Matsuda-san. And
Thank you.
Thank
let's,
you.
yeah, thank you. And so that's it for today's JC. And yeah, please upload that video to the YouTube or just a Slack channel club. Andすみません、ありがとうございました。
ありがとうございます。
レコーディングを停止します。